I was talking to my dear friend Margaret the other day, a wonderful woman in her late 60s, and she said something that broke my heart a little. She told me, "I can't remember the last time I did something just for me." And as she said it, I saw that look in her eyes, that tired, resigned look so many women our age get after decades of putting everyone else first. Sound familiar? If you're nodding right now, I want you to take a deep breath with me. Inhale and exhale. Because today, we're going to talk about something revolutionary. It's time to stop being the family caretaker and start being, dare I say it, selfish. And before you bristle at that word, let me tell you what selfish really means in this context. It doesn't mean abandoning your loved ones or becoming cold-hearted. It means finally giving yourself the same care and consideration you've poured into others for 50, 60, maybe 70 years. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, "But my family needs me," or "Who else will take care of things if I don't?" Here's the hard truth. Your family will survive. In fact, they might even thrive when you stop doing everything for them. And more importantly, you deserve to thrive too. Let's start with the first reason why putting yourself first isn't just okay. It's necessary. Your health depends on it. Study after study shows that women who carry the emotional and physical burden of caregiving for decades have higher rates of chronic illness, depression, and burnout. My neighbor Edith spent 30 years as the primary caregiver for her husband, her parents, and then her grandchildren. By 68, she was on 3 different medications for high blood pressure, and so exhausted she could barely enjoy her own life. It wasn't until her doctor sat her down and said, "Edith, if you don't start putting yourself first, you won't be here to care for anyone," that she finally made changes. Which brings me to the second point. You've earned this. Think about it. How many birthdays have you spent cooking for everyone else instead of letting someone pamper you? How many vacations were really just you working in a different location? How many of your own dreams got shelved because someone else needed something? There comes a time when you need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, "My wants and needs matter too." I'll never forget when my friend Rosalind, at 72, finally took that painting class she'd been putting off for 40 years. Her daughter actually complained at first, "Who's going to watch the kids on Thursday afternoons?" And you know what Rosalind said? "Their father is." Simple as that. And guess what happened? Not only did Rosalind discover an incredible talent, she sells her paintings now. But her son-in-law became much more involved with his children. What seemed like selfishness actually made their whole family stronger. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I'll feel guilty. Oh, honey, we could do a whole other video just on guilt, that heavy, familiar weight so many of us carry. But here's what I want you to consider today. Guilt is the price we've been conditioned to pay for having boundaries. And like any bad habit, we can unlearn it. Start small. Maybe it's letting the dishes sit while you read a book. Maybe it's saying no to babysitting every weekend. Maybe it's finally booking that trip you've been dreaming about. Yes, even if your adult children give you those puppy dog eyes. Because here's the secret no one tells you. When you start honoring your own needs, you teach everyone around you how to treat you. And that's not selfish. That's wisdom earned from a lifetime of giving. Now let's talk about how to actually make this shift in your daily life. Because knowing you deserve more is one thing, but claiming it is another. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you had a whole day where nobody asked you for anything? No grocery runs for the kids, no last-minute favors for the grandkids, no checking in on aging relatives? If you're struggling to remember, that's exactly why we need to have this conversation. You see, somewhere along the way, probably around the time you became a mother or a wife, or the responsible one in your family, you were handed an invisible script. It said your value came from how much you could do for others, and like the incredible woman you are, you ran with it. But here's what that script didn't tell you. There's no trophy for being the most exhausted woman in the room. No one's going to look back and say, "Thank God she never took a break." So let's talk about how to rewrite that script, starting with the art of the gracious No Margaret, who I mentioned earlier. Practice this with something as simple as Sunday dinners. For 30 years, she hosted the whole family every week, cooking, cleaning, the works. Then one month, she announced she'd be doing it just twice a month instead. The shock, the horror. But you know what happened? Her daughters started rotating hosting duties. Now, Margaret gets to be a guest sometimes, showing up with just a dessert and leaving with a full heart instead of an empty tank. Here's the beautiful thing about setting boundaries. They create space for others to step up. That brings me to my next point. Your selfishness might be the greatest gift you give your family. Strange as it sounds, when you stop doing everything, you give your loved ones the chance to grow. Take my cousin Elaine. Always the family mediator, the one who smoothed over every conflict. When she decided to stop managing everyone's relationships at 68, something miraculous happened. Her children actually started working things out between themselves. They're closer now than when Elaine was doing all the emotional labor for them. Now I know some of you are thinking, but what if they can't manage without me? Let me ask you this. How will they ever learn if you don't let them try? We don't question whether babies will eventually walk just because they stumble at first. Yet we often treat our grown children like they'll never figure things out unless we do it for them. The truth, they're more capable than you think. They've just gotten used to you being the safety net. This brings us to perhaps the most liberating realization. You are not responsible for other adults' comfort. That's right. Your son's inability to meal plan, your sister's disorganization, your best friend's last-minute emergencies. These are not your crises to solve. At 72, my friend Carol finally stopped being the family's on-call therapist. When her nephew called panicking about his divorce at midnight, she gently said, "Honey, I love you, but this is a conversation for daylight hours and your actual therapist." And guess what? He found a therapist the next day. What we're really talking about here is the difference between love and overfunctioning. Love says, "I care about you." Overfunctioning says, "I don't trust you to handle your own life." One nurtures, the other enables. And at this stage of life, you deserve to graduate from manager to consultant, weighing in when asked, but not carrying the whole operation on your back. Now, you might be wondering how to start making these changes without causing earthquakes in your relationships. That's exactly what we'll explore next, because this isn't about burning bridges, but about finally walking across them toward the life you've earned. You know, there's a question I've been wanting to ask you this whole time. When did you stop being a person and become just a role? A mother, a grandmother, a caregiver, a wife? When did your name become synonymous with the one who handles everything? Here's what I want you to imagine with me for a moment. Picture yourself at 16 years old. That bright-eyed girl who had dreams tucked in her back pocket, maybe to travel, to paint, to learn Italian, to dance under moonlight without a single care. She's still in there, you know. She's been waiting all these years for you to remember her. This brings me to perhaps the most important point of all. Rediscovering yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. My friend Gloria started this journey in the simplest way possible. At 75, she bought herself a bright red notebook and began writing down everything that brought her joy as a young woman. The music she loved, the books that made her think, even the silly little hobbies she'd abandoned. Then, each week, she picked one thing to revisit. Some weeks, it was as small as buying herself the kind of expensive chocolates she used to save for company. Other weeks, it was bigger, like signing up for a literature class at the community college. Slowly but surely, Gloria stopped being just grandma and became Gloria again, the woman who loved Baudelaire poems and had opinions about abstract art. Now let's talk about the practical magic of creating your own playbook. The beautiful thing about this stage of life, you get to make your own rules. Maybe your playbook says, "I will have 2 guilt-free hours to myself every morning before the world gets my energy. I will not cancel my plans to solve problems my adult children could handle themselves. I will spend money on myself without justifying it as practical." Here's the revolutionary part. You don't need anyone's permission to write these rules. Not your husband's, not your children's, not society's. After 70 years of living, your permission slip comes from within. I'll never forget what my mentor Ruth told me on her 80th birthday. "Honey, I spent my 60s unlearning what the world taught me about being a good woman. My 70s were for remembering who I was before the world told me who to be. And now I'm having the time of my life. So here's my challenge to you today. Do one thing, just one small thing, that's purely for you. Maybe it's sitting in the backyard with a novel instead of folding that last load of laundry. Telling your family you're unavailable every Wednesday afternoon because that's your time. finally booking that weekend getaway you've been putting off for when things calm down. And when that familiar guilt creeps in, I want you to picture all the women who came before us, your mother, your grandmother, your aunts, and imagine what they might say if they'd given themselves this same permission. I think they'd whisper, "Go on, darling. Take the joy. You've earned it 10 times over." This isn't about abandoning those you love. It's about showing them how to love you better, because the truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. And after a lifetime of filling everyone else's, my goodness, isn't it time someone filled yours? I'd love to hear in the comments, what's one way you'll start putting yourself first this week? Let's inspire each other. And if this message resonated with you, do me a favor, hit that like button, share this with a sister or friend who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more conversations about thriving in this beautiful, messy, glorious chapter of life. Remember, the world had you for 60 years as their caretaker. Now it's your turn. Here's to the most deliciously selfish chapter yet. May it be everything you've dreamed of and more. Until next time, darlings, go be gloriously, unapologetically you. Do subscribe to keep the circle growing.